You know, the thing is, you've got to stop suffering. Because if you're clear about something, just be clear. And then let it go. Because if you start feeling guilty and then suffering, and children learn to manipulate with that. You just have to be clear. And if you're like moving stress, now you learn how to move the stress so that you can be clear without projecting all your rubbish. So, you know, the thing is, you have to learn that. But if you put limits, this is love. You know, parents have this idea that they just don't put any limit. Oh, if I put a limit, it's going to stunt their growth. And it's not true. Love can be very clear, can be very firm. It's not always like this. So just trust. You know, the fact that you ask is because you're a great mother. Bad mothers don't ask. They don't care. Okay, so remember that. And stop being violent with you. Because you're being violent with you. Yeah.
Hola, hi Isha. I want to ask you if you can recommend how to handle my anxiety.
Well, the facets are for that. You know, firstly, the facets start to remove all the stress. But it's very important that when you feel anxious, you just stop and just use the facet and go in and connect with what's happening and allow it to leave. You know, anxiety is a place where you're not giving time to yourself. And you have to give time to yourself. We always want to push everything away. You know, I want to push the contraction away. And I want to push the anxiety away. And that's not how it works. That's like trying to push mud down in a river. You know, you have to allow it to fall. And with love. You know, because we get violent. It's like, oh, I don't like this. I don't want this. And you just need to allow and be gentle. The minute you're loving with anything, it dissolves. If you put fear and judgment and criticism and violence and what happens? It grows, it has control, and it's only a very small aspect of you that you can heal. It's a bit of stress. Huh? You'll leave here with no anxiety. Sure.
Hola. I can connect with the question before about being a mother with young children. I also have a lot of guilt about doing mistakes. How can I say that? Repair this for the past, you know? Because I know I've done things wrong, but I want to do now better so that they won't have, let's say, any anxieties in the future. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. You know, the thing is, you've got to be loving with you. And there's one thing you need to learn. You never did anything wrong. We are love and evolution. We do the best we can in each moment. Then we see something that doesn't serve, and we change. Simple, We don't have to go back in time and ask forgiveness and just change. And you know, we do things through immaturity and fear. It's not that we do it intentionally. So we just change in each moment. We evolve in each moment. The worst thing we can do is this. Oh, I'm a bad mother. I did this and I did that. And, you know, it's just another way of suffering. And it doesn't teach the children. This mi culpa, you want to teach the children that? Or you want to teach them to be free, to trust in themselves, to give the best, to grow, to experience consciousness. Look at what you want to give. Because children copy you. They don't do what you say. They do what you do. So just change. But don't look back. You know, everything's a learning experience. And we all do things that we can do better. Yeah. And it's so important that. Yeah, to let go of this guilt. Look what I did wrong.
I want to ask you, what is for you the willpower?
I have none.
And if you think it's part of this mental program we are taught, or is part of our being?
Okay. So when we're talking about willpower, I think it's about focus, no? A focus on what serves. What is good for me? How can I have that focus? How can I be disciplined? And what I find is the more you start to love yourself, you make choices based in things that make you feel better, that are loving for you. You commit to yourself. It could be in exercise, it could be in food, it could be in relationships. But you make a commitment because you're loving you. And I think it's a place that evolves through love. Because you can have willpower and you can be exigente and destructive. Or you can have no willpower and you can be mediocre and disillusioned. The two things, one's not better than the other. But love is excellent. It's constant. It's always moving to be the best I can be without the exigencia. Yeah, without the obsession. Does that answer your question? And the more you love yourself, it becomes natural. You know, I'm very focused, for example. I do what I have to do to feel how I want to feel. And sometimes I don't want to do what I have to do, but I do it anyway because I know it will make me feel good. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do yoga, that's not so exciting. But now I do, you know, woo, it's okay. Yeah? Doing exercise every day. Sometimes I don't want to, but I do it. Trying to eat well. You know, trying not to eat that block of Sandy News. This is my biggest challenge.
that you talked that the example is what makes the change. How do you do when children are living in an atmosphere of alcoholic parents, delinquents, and we try to teach them a different example, but when they arrive home it's all the opposite, no? How can we support those issues and really help these children in these situations?
You know, it doesn't matter the external experience. You know, because you might have the best parents in the world and you become an alcoholic or a drug addict or whatever. It's not necessarily about the environment. You have to teach children to be complete within themselves, to be secure within themselves. And the interesting thing is that when children are taught this, often the parents start to change. But this is what my whole education system's about. Because if you're really anchored in yourself and you're having a difficult experience externally, that can push you to be even more anchored. It can push you to learn to move your stress and to feel secure within yourself. You know, it's not just something negative external stops you from cultivating something positive. But they have to have the tools. You know, they have to have the tools. They have to know what to do. But, you know, focusing on love changes everything. And then the children start to change the parents. Because the parents see. Is it easy? No. It's not easy. You know, there's lots of horror stories in the world.
My question is how to identify when we repeat patterns, when we choose partners, and we can see that that partner of that relationship is similar to the previous one, but you get too involved into the relationship when you notice. How to take a different path.
You know, there's a moment. Before we arm the fantasy, you see very clearly that person. And in that moment, you get to make a choice. Do I do that again? Or do I not? And normally, we do it again. So what can you learn from this? The only thing you can learn is not to suffer. Creating the same situation, obviously something to do with your parents, healing it, but within that relationship, learning not to suffer, learning not to be a victim. It's one of the greatest growths you can have. Because once you free that, you're free from everything. Okay, because it's clearly the victim, no? The victim wants to suffer. The victim feels abused. The victim doesn't feel appreciated. The victim. Oh, and you're identical to the last one. And the one before, and the one before, and the one before, and the one before, and the one before. Yeah? So you make a choice. You either say no, or you use it to heal.
I understand that we have to be anchored, focus in ourselves, unify. But I feel that when my father is the most depressed, or my partner gets too deep in his contraction, it affects me. And I saw it from outside myself now, seeing it, but I don't know what else to do.
This is the example I just talked about. So your partners do the same thing your father does. So you think there's something wrong. I need to save them. And you need to let go. You're suffering, they're suffering. And you have to see that. They have their own experience. But you jump into the experience because you need to save them. And it's an interesting thing. Because when you're saving someone that has an addiction, and it's an addiction, they're getting what they want. You're there, like, oh. Yeah, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Leave me alone. They don't want you to leave them alone. They want you to keep asking if they're okay. You have to let go. And it doesn't mean you don't care. And it doesn't mean that you're not there. But to suffer that serves no one. Then we have two people in a hole. And why do you need them to snap out of it? You have to go deeper into that, where you don't feel good enough. You know, if I was good enough, I would be filling them up. But I'm not good enough. And that comes from being a child. And you just need to heal it all. You know, it's never about changing the outside. It's always about changing you. Your perception. Because it's like that. Yeah?
It's happening to me in sports that I have situations where I feel a lot of fear that I couldn't identify before. I don't know if it's... I do kite and wakeboard, and suddenly you get hit. Before it didn't happen. I went, I hit myself, I didn't care. And now I'm afraid, even non-justified fears, like things that never can be so terrible. I say, okay, I go, I do it. And afterwards I feel a physical sensation with a lot of thoughts. And I try to anchor things in the facet, but I cannot. And that takes me to be very harsh with me, get frustrated and all that.
You know, the thing is this. You're allowing your head to control you. If you do sports that are high risk, I do sport that's high risk, and I've had some horrible accidents. And after those horrible accidents, there is an aspect of, should I keep doing this? But I love to do it. So I push myself through that. So you have to decide, do I love this? This has high risk. Am I really enjoying it? And if the answer is yes, just push through. You know, we get to a certain age and we start to calculate. You know, when we're young and stupid, and not that you're old, but you know, we drink and it doesn't matter, no pasa nada, and boom, 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 boom. But if you have to decide, and if you're clear you love it, you have to just use the facets and push yourself through. And be open to something happening too. You know, things happen. You can't stop it happening. But enjoying what you're doing is more important, no? And this is what you've got to have, a clear vision. I love to do this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to die doing this. That's what I say. I say I'm going to die on top of a horse. It's like that. Good. Great. Then the fear goes. Okay, so you have to decide. But be clear. And just enjoy. And do it 100%. Don't do it with fear, wishy-washy. Because that creates accidents. You have to be clear and you do it. And that's it. Just start. Gracias.